Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Hey, how's everybody doing tonight? We are back another Friday night, which means another discussion, another topic. This one, of course, is going to be kind of about fathers who kind of feel less than because they're struggling financially. Um, you know, this one's, in my opinion, this one right here is for the dads who feel like they're drowning. For the fathers who are doing everything they can just to survive, but still you lie awake at night questioning if everything I'm doing is enough. You know, um, let the record show that I see you, I hear you, um, and I want to remind you of something that the world does not say enough to those fathers: is your worth as a dad is not tied to your wallet. See, the world has painted this picture, right, of what like a real man or a real father is supposed to look like. He's supposed to, have good money. He's supposed to have his own house, a car, a savings account, health insurance, all these things that look great on paper. And don't get me wrong; those are all amazing things, and they're great things to have, and they are important. Um, and we all want to provide those things, right? We want to give those things to our children, but what happens when we can't? When you're out here grinding, when you're out here struggling, when you're out here trying, but you still fall short. See, the world, in my opinion, will try to make you feel like you're failing as a father, that you're failing as a provider, as you're failing to do these things. You must be a less than dad. And I'll be honest with you, I'm here to tell you that, in my opinion, that's a lie. It's a lie. Your ability to be a good father has nothing to do with your bank account. You can be broke and you can still be a blessing to those children. You can be struggling and still be strong. You can have bills piling up and still be building your legacy. Um, don't ever let your financial hardship convince you that your love isn't enough. Now, let me ask you something. Do you remember what it felt like to be a kid? Like, think back. Think about moments that meant something to you. Um, think about like the people you looked up to, the memories you have of those people. Were they based on how much money somebody had? Were they based on what they could buy you? Or were they built on how someone made you feel? The time you spent with them. The way they protected you, the way they showed up, even if you didn't even know their life was hard. See, that's what your child and your children need from you. Not your paycheck, your presence. Not a new toy, your time. Not a perfect life, your consistency. Now don't get it twisted. I'm not saying to stop crying. I'm not saying to settle. I'm not saying to just give up. Like, all right, my love is enough. We're not doing enough. That's fine. You know, we still get up early. We still stay up late. We hustle. We're fathers. We sacrifice. That's what we do. That's how we're built. But what I'm saying is, don't let the season of struggle that you're in currently make you feel like you're not good enough as a dad. Because life is full of seasons. And I'm not talking about summer, winter, fall, or spring. I'm not talking about that. And sometimes life will humble you. Sometimes life will hit you with layoffs. They'll hit you with evictions. They'll hit you with child support. They'll hit you with legal fees. They'll hit you with inflation. And tell you what, sometimes it'll hit you with all that at once. And when it does, It's easy to look in the mirror and start believing that you have failed, but you haven't. You're just going through that season, right? You feel like you're just in the fire. And the fire, like a blade, doesn't destroy you. The fire refines you. You're still becoming the man your child will look back at on every day and say, he didn't give up on me, even when he was broke, even when he was tired, even when nobody clapped for him. He stayed in my life. He kept going. And trust me, I know what that's like. I know what it's like to have your kids look around and be like, oh, their dad's doing this, their dad's doing this, and they could do this and they can do that, and you sitting there not being able to provide it. I know exactly what that's like. But I'm telling you right now that being there, showing up, the consistency we talked about, that is what matters more than anything. It matters more than anything. Let me get a little bit deeper. There are fathers out here who feel unfit. I'm gonna use that word because that's the term like that the court likes to use, right? Unfit parent, unfit father, um, because they can't buy their kids the newest sneakers. They can't buy their kid the newest toy or the tablet. Now it's the video games. Um, their other friends are having birthday parties at the trampoline park, um, and they're not able to get that, right? Like there's going to be times when you feel like you're failing it because of that, right? And there are fathers out here that feel like you're unfit. Okay. Um, but I'll be honest with you. What your kids will remember more is the time you got down on the floor and played with them. You reading them a book at night. You showing up for their school event. You showing up for their sporting event. Um, you showing up for them time and time again. And 9 times out of 10, showing up, it's not going to cost you a dime. Maybe a little gas money, you know what I mean, something of that nature. But showing up's not going to cost you a dime. Um, you making soup for them when they're not feeling good, right? You checking on them in their time of need. That's love, right? That's true love. That's what we talk about when we talk about legacy. You might not have money, right? But to your kids, you have wisdom. You might not have a big house, but you can have a big heart. You might not have the best job, right? But you definitely have the best intentions, and that's what we have to strive for. You know, um, so what we gotta stop doing is looking at what we don't have financially. We have to look at what we don't have materialistically. Um, you know, when we have to learn to stop being so hard on ourselves when it comes to that stuff, right? Like I get that it's important. I get that we want to strive. And I'll tell you what, the fact that you're striving, I'm going to say this, I've said it before, the fact that you're striving to do more for your children means that you're doing a great job, right? We've got to stop beating ourselves up over what we can't provide and start focusing more and more on what we can provide. Um, if you need help, right, ask for it. If you need help, ask for it. If you need a break, take it. Stop burning yourself out. And if you're tired, rest, but don't quit. And if you're crying right now as you hear this, let me tell you something right now. You're not alone. You are not alone. There are tons of fathers all around this country, around this world, who struggle financially. They struggle when it comes to money and what they have. And we're all just trying to make it. No one's going to sit here and try to put themselves on a path. And I'll tell you what, if you're the type of dad that looks at other dads and puts yourself on like some type of pedestal because you're doing great financially, I'll tell you right now, why don't you take some self inventory of how your kids are? Because I'll be honest with you, some of the worst children I know, and I hate to say it like that, but some of the worst children I know come from wealthy families. Some of the most spoiled, disrespectful brats, for lack of a better word, that I know come from people who have money. They do. Um, Let me tell you something. You're not a bad father if you're a present father. You're a real father. You're a man who's doing the best he can, and there's nothing that is more than enough than a present father, a real father who's doing the best he can. There's nothing more than enough than that. That's everything. Your kids, you know what they're gonna remember? You remember your love long before they'll remember your struggles. That's the important thing to remember. They're going to remember how much their father loved them more than how much their father struggled financially, right? Looking back on my day, I have no idea. I have no idea. I'm 30 something years old. I have no idea if my parents struggled financially or not. No idea. I don't. All I know is, we had a lot of stuff. Like, not a lot of stuff. I mean, like, we had decent lives. We were never hungry. Our parents did things with us. They signed us up for sports. They were at games. They were at everything that they could be. Um, they played. They had fun. We made memories together. And that's why I say you got to keep showing up. Keep showing up. You keep leading with love. Let love lead your parenting style. Don't let money. Let love do it. And you just got to keep building. Like I said, just because I'm sitting here and I'm pounding on the table saying love is enough, love is enough, love is enough. What we're not going to do is we're not going to just give up, right? We still grind, we still do the damn thing. Um, the money, as long as you keep it up, dude, I promise you, the money will come. It's not. It may not come like in the form of millions. It's not going to come like in the form of like, oh my goodness, all at once it just dropped to my lap. Everything's fine, right? But the money will come. The blessings will come. Um, the stability, which is the most important thing, that's what your kids need that stability. And I'm not talking about financial stability. I'm talking about emotional stability. I'm talking about your presence, your stable presence. Um, but right now, like you're already going through something powerful. Okay, you're staying in the fight because I get it. Life it's giving you lefts, it's giving you rights, right? It's trying to knock you down. And for some of you mentally, it's winning, right? It's winning. But I'm gonna tell you right now, I salute you for staying in it. I salute you for realizing, like, hey, if you ain't gonna get up and fight to be a stable presence in your child's life, who are you gonna fight for? You know what I mean? Who are you gonna fight for? And that's what I would ask you. I would ask you right now, if we're being honest, in the end, what did you remember about your parents? What did you remember about being raised in a household? Did you remember a world of poverty? Did you remember things? And like I said, you look back, and I'm sure if you really paid attention, right, you could pick up on some indicators of if you lived a rich life, a poor life, a middle class life, right? But I feel like for a lot of us, without really sitting down thinking about it, I think you remember more so like your parents showing up. I think you really would say that, hey, my dad was there. My dad was ready to be everything that I needed, everything that my siblings, if you had siblings, needed, everything else. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's take a little deeper look at this, right? Because I want to say this loud and clear. Just because you're broke doesn't mean you are broken, right? Just because you're broke does not mean you are broken. And yet, I'll be honest, so many fathers I feel like feel that way, right? You feel like we tie ourselves and our self worth to our income. We measure our fatherhood by what we can buy instead of what we can build. Love, trust, memories, our core values, those are things you cannot buy. Um, and that mindset, right, that pressure that we put on ourselves, and I hate using this word, it's toxic. It robs good men, it robs us of our peace. It makes fathers who love their children with all their heart feel unqualified, like we're falling short, like maybe their kids deserve better. And you know what? The fact that you're striving, right? You're striving to give your kids that better. That means, I mean, that's a great mindset to have, but not at the cost of your own internal peace. And we focus, hyperfixate on so much of I gotta do more, I gotta buy this, I gotta do that. That we're striving so hard to do that we look around and our children are nowhere to be seen. You know what I mean? Like you're pushing yourself to provide all these things that you look around and someone else is raising your child, whether it be YouTube or television or their friends or someone else. You know what I mean? Like you're missing out on the whole parenting experience because of what you're focused on. And I get it, right? And I get why, like we talked about this before, like so many men struggle and we're conditioned to suffer in silence. We're told, man up, don't cry, handle it, figure it out. But what happens when you can't figure it out right away? Right? What happens when you're doing your best and it's still not enough? What happens when rent is due, groceries are low, your car needs repairs, and you're still trying to be Superman to your children? What happens then? I'll tell you what happens then. You start to feel ashamed, right? You start to pull away, you start to isolate yourself, and then you start questioning your value. But let me tell you something. Struggling financially is not a moral failure. It's not a character flaw. It's not a reason to give up. It's just a moment. It's a challenge, like any other challenge. It's part of your journey, not the end of it. See, when you're telling a story, you have your main character. For the lack of a better word, let's say we are that main character. Um, Everything's going fine. And then what always seems to happen, right, is that main character runs into some kind of challenge, something that puts it at a disadvantage, something that gives it struggle. But luckily for us, the story doesn't end there, right? The main character may take a couple lumps, they may get knocked down, they may get, absolutely beat up, but they take that information, they don't give up, they move on, they push forward, and they overcome it in the end, right? That becomes that happy ending. And this is no different. Our story, our journey does not end with our financial struggle. It's a part of our journey. So for some of us, it's the very beginning. You know, I know there's men out here thinking, like, if I can't give my child a better life financially, then maybe they're better off without me. And let me tell you right now, no. They're absolutely not. Absolutely not. Your child would rather have peanut butter and jelly sandwiches than with you than steak dinners without you. If I ask my children right now, like, what did we eat all last week for dinner? They couldn't tell you. They couldn't tell you. They wouldn't be able to tell you. These kids have no idea how many times that, we've eaten the last thing in our refrigerator. And they also don't know how many times that they've gone out to eat. Even they don't know. But do they know is that their father is the one that's right there with them making these things happen. You know what I mean? So like I said, your child would rather have peanut butter and jelly sandwiches with you than steak dinners without you. They would rather laugh with you in a small apartment than cry in a big house without their father. Your presence matters. Your presence matters more than your wallet. I get it. We live in a world that glorifies all the material success. But let me tell you something. Kids remember love, not luxury. They remember love, not luxury. They remember the time you came to their school event, even though you were exhausted. I remember that distinctly about my father. My father used to work like swing shifts, like at where he was working. He used to work swing shifts, and me and my brother would have a basketball game, and it'd be like, "There's no shot, Dad's coming to our basketball game," and then we'd be about halfway through, and you look in the crowd, and he's there, and he went to as many as he could, despite having just worked 12 hours, 14 hours. Um, they remember the times that like you made them laugh when the lights were off. The way that you made them feel safe when the world felt scary. These are the things that kids remember, and in its own way, it's also providing, right? Like it's also um, a way of provision. Your emotional presence, let me tell you this right now, is a gift. It's not the shiny new video game or the new tablet or a new computer or something of that nature, but in its own beautiful way, it's a gift. Um, your protection is a gift. The fact that your kids can sleep and put their head down on their pillow every night without having to worry about the world, and let's be honest, a world that can be truly evil sometimes. Um, the fact that we don't have to, that isn't a thing. Your guidance is a gift. I'll tell you what, it might be a gift that they don't appreciate sometimes, right? Like we try to guide our children in the ways we think they should go, um, and sometimes that they don't want to hear it. They forget that we were kids once. They forget that we were young once. As much as I hate to use that word, yeah, we will always try to give them more, but never confuse money with more fatherhood. It's just not. It's just not the same thing. The two are not correlated. Now, let's talk, let's get down to like practicality, right? Like, because you still have to survive, right? You still have to push forward. Here are some things that I want every father to know if they're in this situation, right? Number one, let's ask for help. We talked about how men suffer in silence. Um, whether it's family, friends, community programs, or even the government aid. I'm telling you, don't let your pride keep you from feeding your children and paying your bills. If you have to get assistance, get it. I get being a man and not wanting to, go do like food stamps or welfare. I get it, right? But don't let your pride get in the way of you feeding your children and being an effective father, right? Don't let that happen. Sometimes you gotta swallow your pride. Sometimes you gotta do things you don't want to do. It's that simple. There's enough people that abuse those programs that if a person who really, really needed to got on it, I'd be okay with it, 100%. Um, let's focus on stability, right? Not flash. Let's not, your kids don't need luxury, right? I know people who buy all kinds of stuff for their children. It's like, why would you buy that for a child, right? I know people who buy like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you should. If you have the money, you can't buy your kids the newest pair of Jordans, right? But if the kid's still growing, he's going to grow out of it and never be able to use those shoes again. They need consistency, right? They try to give them like routine, structure, presence, you know, and those things can build a sense of security, not financial security, but a sense of security even when money's tight. Um, and I'll tell you what, when they get to be a certain age, right? Like, talk to your kids, talk to them. I think a lot of times we put ourselves here and our kids here, right? But they get to a certain age where they can be let in the loop a little bit. I'm not saying unload everything you got going on to your kids. I'm not saying that, but let them know. Hey, look, times are a little tough, and I'm doing everything I can, but we're not gonna be able to do this. We're not gonna be able to do that. Kids are smart. I'll tell you what, they're smart and they're honest. And I think that also builds like a sense of trust. Um, But I will say, if you have to go that route, right? If your kids are old enough, you let them peek behind the curtain, so to speak. I think you just got to also remind them that they're safe, right? Like they're loved and they're not alone. Like, you still are doing everything you can to handle the situation. We just might not be able to do this, that, and the third. Um, and don't compare. You mean like you heard the phrase "keeping up with the Joneses"? Like, don't do that. Like comparison, all it's going to do, it's going to rob your joy. Because the moment you get anything going for you, if you look hard enough, you'll find someone who's doing better. Um, you don't. And here's another thing. And I'm not sure if you've come to find this. I've come to find this. The people who post the flashy stuff, the new house, the new car, the budding relationship, all those things. You never really know what's going on in someone else's home. You never really know what they've got going on, right? Some of the people who post the most lead the most shallow, unhappy lives. Um, you know, let your children stay focused in your lane. Don't go looking over the fence and see what they have going on. Don't compare your life to someone else's. We're each running our own race. And all you're going to do, like I said, all you're going to do is if you look over there and you try to compare yourself, all you're going to do is rob yourself of that joy, right? Focus on you. Focus on your little battles. Focus on how you can continue to grow the situation, your journey, and your bond with your child. Don't try to compare your life, especially when you know that you are struggling financially. Um, and I think you have to also keep your like vision for what you want in your life alive. It's easy when you become a parent to kind of like take your dreams and kind of like put them away for a rainy day, right? Um, and then as life gets too busy, because life comes at you hard, it comes at you, it comes at you heavy. Um, I think you got to realize that you're in a season of struggle. We talked about seasons a little bit ago. You're in a season of struggle. It is not never ending. Seasons end. Um, it isn't forever. Keep working, keep building, keep that dream alive. Um, let your child see you fighting for something better. Because I'll tell you what, I think if a child, without even having to tell them, when a child can see their parent constantly fighting for something better, it's no longer looking at, oh, where we are. It's looking where that parent is trying to take you, where that father is trying to build you up to. Um, and I think that's the most important thing. A child can learn a lot from you by watching you not give up, by watching you not fight, not succeed. Oh, sorry, not. I didn't mean not succeed, but by succeeding, by continue to fighting through adversity. A child can learn from you trying your best over and over again, even when there are setbacks. And we all know there will be setbacks. There always are. It's not an if, it's a when. And it's not a, and it's a how you react to them, how you counteract those struggles. And I feel like your child sees that. They watch, they pick up on more than I think we realize, for sure. So please, I can't say this enough. I really can't. So each and every one of the fathers listening, whether it's live, whether it's on a replay, or even it's a clip, you're not a failure. You are not disqualified. You're not less of a man because you're broke. You're a father who's still standing. He's still trying. He's still showing up. He's still holding it together while everything is falling apart. He's still protecting and loving his children in the middle of your own storm. And that's how you know you're succeeding, because the people around you, the children around you, they don't even realize they're in a storm. And that right there, that makes you powerful. Right? So you need to lift your head. You need to wipe your tears away. You need to take a deep breath. You need to keep going. Okay, you don't have to be rich to leave a rich legacy. You know, your strength, your love, your presence, that is what your children remember. And I think we have to remind ourselves of that last part, right? Like I get being a man and wanting to leave, like have a legacy. I'll say this. Let me tell you something that I just hope it sticks with you. You take nothing else away from this. Please take away this, okay? You may not have a savings account right now, right? You may not have a house in your name. You may be wondering how you're going to cover school supplies or whatever you're going to eat for dinner tonight. But do you know what you do have? You have a child who sees you. You have a child that smiles when you walk in the room. You have a child who sleeps better when you're nearby. A child who looks at you and feels safe, even when they don't understand the weight that you carry. That's power. That's true power. You may think you're just barely making it, right? Like you think like that, that you're actually that you're actually like so close to just giving up, that you're so close to, just folding it in, calling it quits. But let me tell you something right now. The the things that your children are picking up on, you're not barely making it. You're actually doing is breaking generational curses. You're leaving your child in ways you're loving your child in ways that they've never been loved. You're showing up even, maybe where your father didn't. You're staying committed where maybe you were abandoned. You're speaking life where maybe all you ever heard was silence or anger. You are the beginning of a new legacy. And it doesn't require money to start. It requires courage. It requires faith. It requires showing up again and again, even when it hurts. You see, when you're building something that isn't always, you're building something that isn't visible right now, right? You're building something for the future. You're building a foundation. What you're building right now is a foundation. I'll tell you right, foundations are not pretty. They're made of dirt, sweat, hard days, long nights. But when your child becomes an adult and they look and they see the beautiful life that they've been able to build off of that foundation that you left, they'll realize that their strength came from your struggle. And I promise you, one day, that child's going to look back and they're going to say, my dad didn't have much, but he gave me everything that mattered. He gave me love. He gave me wisdom. He gave me strength. He gave me him. And that's a legacy money can't buy. So, to every father listening, if you feel tired, if you feel unworthy, if you feel like giving up, don't. Don't. You are too important. Because that child, those children, they need you. That world that we live in, that same world that beats you down every day, that makes you struggle every month, that asks for more and more and more, that world needs you. And your story, it's not over yet. Just hold on. Okay? Hold on. Just keep going. It's like driving a car at night, right? You drive a car at night, you can only see so far, right? Your headlights only reach out so far in front of you. So you drive and you see the light, the headlights, and they reveal a little bit of the path. And then you go a little farther, it reveals a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. Um, and it's kind of, in a way, an act of faith, right? That the headlights are going to keep revealing you small portions of the path. Yeah, you can't see the end. You don't know the end, right? You're driving down a dark road, um, but just keep going. Just keep going. And I promise you, there's going to be light at the end of that tunnel. Eventually, you'll get where you need to be. You build what you can with what you have where you are. And trust that even in your lowest moment, you're still making an impact. You're still making an impact. You're definitely making an impact on those children's lives, right? You're still providing. You're still making sure that they know that they're loved, that they're safe, they're not alone. Are you broke? Maybe. But as I said before, you are not broken. You are still a father. You're still a foundation. You are still enough. I know it's a little bit of a shorter message today, from what we normally do. I'm going to definitely, elaborate a little bit more. Uh, but I just want it to be known that, like I said, just because you are broke does not mean you are broken. You are still a father. You are still a foundation. You are still enough. I want you to hear those words over and over and over again. I hope they ring true in your mind, right? Like, your value as a father is not tied to the money in your bank account. Just because you cannot provide everything that you dream of financially for your children does not mean you cannot provide emotionally for your children. It's like, I always find, and I'm not going to knock a profession here, right? But I always find it funny when I was growing up. Women would be like, "Oh, I want to marry a doctor. I want to marry a lawyer," right? And there ain't nothing wrong with either one of those professions, right? I'm not going to sit here and say there are. There isn't. Um, but I feel like it's tough to marry some of those people because they're never around, right? They're always working. Yeah, they provide. You know what I mean? You'll have the big house, you'll have the fancy car, you'll have this, that, and the third. You'll have all that. But they're never around. Same thing goes for your children. You can work yourself to death. You can. You can pick up every shift. You can work sun up to sundown. You can grind those gears until they break. But I'm here to tell you, brother, like, at a certain point, don't feel it's worth it. Because who is raising your child? Right? Like, do you want your legacy to be that your children grow up one day and be like, yeah, we had this, we had that, we had that. What was your father like? Oh, I don't really know. He worked a lot. Do you want he worked a lot to be on your tombstone? Do you want he worked a lot to be what your children recall most about you? Or you want to have a legacy that's more like, hey, my father, dude, he did all kinds of stuff with us, right? He did this, he did that. He would play these games, he would do these things. Um, I'm just saying, you just got to you just got to show up. Your presence, I'm telling you, that's the most important thing, without a doubt. A few things that I want to touch on as we get towards the end here. Um, One thing that I want to talk about is we're going to start having more people on. I have a few people that I've been talking to, from different, like, perspectives of fatherhood, whether it be expecting fathers, newborn fathers, fathers who work with their children when it comes to, like, content creating, um, fathers who go through individual situations, and talking to them. I have a few of those lined up, so I'm looking forward to that, getting that out there. And please, please, as we try to stick with it, grow the channel. Would love to, if you put it out there, share the content with a friend. We are on all social media platforms. We post clips from each stream on our TikTok as well as Instagram. Post the whole thing on YouTube. If you could please just like, share those, favorite those, repost those, whatever you can do. I would greatly appreciate it. Um, one last thing. All right, I'm going to say this right now to reiterate what we were talking about a little bit ago. Um, and I wrote this down and I underlined it a couple times because I definitely wanted to say it. Okay, your ability to be a good father has nothing to do with your bank account. Okay, you can be broke and still be a blessing. You can be struggling and still be strong. You can have bills piling up and still be building your legacy. Do not let financial hardship convince you that your love is not enough. I wanted to reiterate that. I feel like I kind of like blew by that a little bit. Um, so that's why I did that. And here's another one that I want you guys to hear. Well, it's talking about what your child needs from you. It's not your paycheck. It's your presence. It's not a new toy. It's your time. And it's not a perfect life. It's your consistency. Those are the two things I wanted to reiterate to you guys for sure. Because I wanted to make sure that we understand. That we understand that this is a life that is fleeting. And I feel like obviously we're hard on ourselves as men. We're hard on ourselves as providers. We're hard on ourselves as, you know, as the heads of these households for a lot of us. Um, and we don't need to be. We don't need to be. We don't need to work ourselves into a coma to be effective parents for our children. Showing up, being there, being consistent is what matters. And let me reiterate, that does not mean give up. That does not mean stop grinding. Does not mean stop pushing. Does not mean stop trying to achieve great things. But what it means is stop beating yourself up if you are in a season of struggle currently. I know we're a little early for today to be ending. Um, I apologize for that. This was like a new format for me. Normally I'm up here, I'm kind of like winging it. This time I was very like precise and like wrote a lot of stuff down. So that's kind of where we're going to be. I'll start trying to do a little bit more in the beginning, so that way this drags out for the rest of the hour. But we are going to end it here. Um, hopefully this message rings true to somebody. Hopefully they hear this and they kind of lighten up on themselves. They gives themselves the benefit of the doubt. They give themselves a break. But until next time, I want to say, guys, I just want to say that, eyes on the future, right? Heart is in the moment, and let's stay focused. I'll catch y'all later.